Right, so we've built a basic responsive navigation bar using some of the Bootstrap functionality. And what we're going to do now is see how we can go to the sort of next level of responsiveness by not just changing the layout of the nav bar when they're on a smaller screen, but also changing, completely hiding the nav bar so that we make maximum use of that small screen. So let's just remind ourselves how the changing the layout looks. So here I am looking at my navigation bar on a wide screen, and now I'm simulating what it would look like if I was on a narrow screen by sort of making my web browser window more narrow. And you can see that it just makes it into a vertical layout instead. But problem is, imagine you're looking on a phone and you've got several items on there. Then half of the screen is going to be taken up with just your navigation. So that poor user is going to be hit with your nice web page and all they see is navigation. But you want to hit them with some exciting content, so they want to dig in, right? So what we need to do is somehow hide that navigation bar. And Bootstrap does allow us to do that with this collapsible navbar concept. So let's see how that works. So there are two things I need to define in the collapsible navbar. One is what to display when it's collapsed, and the other one is to display what to display when it's uncollapsed. Okay, so let's create two divs and put the content in that we want. So when it's collapsed, I want to just display a button that uncollapses it. Okay, so let's put some comments in just to remind ourselves what's going on. End of collapsed navbar, and start. Right, so now I know that that's relating to the start and end of the collapsed navbar, and then I'm just going to copy that comment and put it here. So first of all, I'll pull that div up there. So we rewrap the whole thing inside this div like this. So it's all inside a sort of fluid container. And then inside the fluid container, I then, as I say, need these two things, which are the collapsed and uncollapsed version. So let's just do the tabbing work there, just to lay it out nicely. Right, and I just need one more comment. Start uncollapsed navbar and end of uncollapsed navbar. Those comments make it really explicit, you know, what's going on in the HTML. So as you add more and more elaborate bits to your navigation bar or your HTML in general, those comments will kind of move down. So it'll always be really clear, okay, that div tag relates to that. And the indenting helps with that as well. So make sure you keep your indenting nice and neat. And some text editors allow you to automatically indent HTML. But I'm doing it manually just so I can really keep control of it. Right, so we defined what gets displayed for the collapsed and uncollapsed navbar. But the problem is, so there's a tiny button there. If I put some text inside the button, we'll be able to see it a bit better. Oops. Okay, so there we have it, but it's not responsive yet. I need to now make it so that when they sort of shrink it down, it hides the uncollapsed navbar, and then when I open it out, it should hide the button and show the complete navbar. Okay, so this is the sort of next step. So we've got the basic framework there, and the way we do it is just by adding a few tags and attributes. So we've already done the basic tag structure, and I've kind of got the classes over here in some boilerplate code. So the first thing we do is define that as being a navbar header. That's really basic. That just means that it sort of sits on top of everything else, which is important once we start collapsing things. The next thing I need to add is I'm going to go in here and set up my the classes on my the second part. All right, so we now set some classes on that, and again these are built into Bootstrap. And what classes have I got there? Well, I've got collapse, navbar collapse. Okay, and the other one is navbar header. The next thing I need to do is to make a connection between this button and this navigation bar, because remember, when they click on the button, you want the navigation bar to sort of appear. All right, and the way I do that is I need to first of all say, okay, set an ID on here. So I set an ID, and sometimes it's worth, laying out your attributes really clearly. And the ID is going to be, I can just call it my navbar, okay? Or maybe a better name is main navbar, okay? Because you might have multiple navbars. So we call it main navbar. And then I need to connect the button up to this ID to make sure that the button triggers the sort of showing of that. And I've got a whole set of attributes that I need to put on the button to do that. And I'll explain what they are as we go through. So first of all, lay it out nicely. So make sure, I always redo my quotes after I copy and paste, just in case I've copied from somewhere like a text editor or a word processor that ruins the quotes. Then you will avoid any really bizarre problems which quotes can cause. Right, so there's all the characteristics of my button. So what have we got there? We've got type equals button. That's an accessibility thing. So setting the type to button is saying, okay, this is make it really clear that it's a button, even though it's a button tag already, but that's making it clear that it's something you can sort of press. Then class equals navbar toggle collapsed. Okay, so that's effectively saying this is something which is shown when the navbar is collapsed. And data toggle equals collapse. So that's data toggle is telling the Bootstrap JavaScript library that there's some extra functionality on this button, and it will automatically add that functionality for us. But you don't need to worry too much about how that works, but suffice it to say that this is an instruction to the JavaScript library that this button does something special. So this is the other part of that instruction. So the first part says, okay, this is a special button that causes something to collapse. And the second part is the thing that it's going to collapse is called main navbar. As we saw earlier, we've already specified that the bottom part, the main part of the navigation bar is connected to that button now. So this is the thing that's going to be collapsed. And then area expanded is false. So that's implying that it's not going to be there initially. So let's reload it. Okay, so I've reloaded and the button's now gone. And hopefully when I shrink down the size of the window, did you see that? So as I get down to a certain size, pop, then I get this button appearing, which I can click on to then reveal the sort of vertical navigation bar. So just think about what's happening to a user. So you've maybe got your mobile device and you just see that button at the top. They tap that button and then they can get the navigation. And a standard icon to use is a set of lines, or you can just write something like open or something that makes it really clear. But the standard icon for menus is a sort of list of lines like that. Okay, so we've now completed our sort of level 2 responsive navigation bar. So we've implemented some collapsible functionality using a combination of Bootstrap CSS and Bootstrap JavaScript. But we haven't really written any code, we've just written a few tags and attributes. So that's just giving you an example of how you can really use Bootstrap to do some cool stuff very easily.